record button to make sure that we are properly going. I didn't find much. I found some rocks and saw some pretty things and marked some things that looked dangerous. But this evening, yes, by popular demand, I will be speedrunning a couple panels that I ran over the weekend at YumeCon. And that's what we Morbs rocks were hit. Yes. So yeah, we're gonna do the panels because I managed to crack through them in less than a half an hour each last time. Maybe taking a little more time tonight. And then we'll come right back to Zelda for some Morbs because there's at least a couple things marked that I was like, oh yeah, I want to check these out. But let me see here. Did I? Okay, yeah. Let me update. Well, let me see here. Update our categories. Yeah, board games. This is board games. And move to the correct screen. And here we go. Let me see here. Make sure I've got... Where's my notes? Yes, I believe that's it. Okay, great. So... if you're joining us for the first time or this is you're just joining in, welcome to the Grognard Garage. GG. In the garage, we love to play games, tell stories, talk about stories, because games are stories and stories come from games. And as a huge anime nerd and a very self-proclaimed weeaboo and otaku, board games with Asian flavor or games from various Asian creators are of a special interest to me. And as part of the anime convention situation, I was like, hey, what about a panel about games in that milieu writ large? And bro, it is a big old thing. It is great. And I even have like a bonus page that I've developed here off to the side. So we'll get into that in just a moment, but let's give the full experience, shall we? Thanks for the heads up. Yeah, I muted myself so I wouldn't be heavy breathing over the intro. But yeah, this is an introductory slide. This is twice now that I had audio issues just today. Huzzah. This is an introductory slide for people who aren't as cool as you, cool people who know what the Grognard Garage is. A Grognard, of course, is a grumbly old nerd. One definition. I, as the Grognard, this is my garage. You're here, you know. But why would I be someone you could trust as an authority on this topic? Well, frankly, experience and a near diagnosis level of desire for research and learning about various topics, especially those I find great interest in, namely other cultures that develop and produce cool things I enjoy, because Grand Admiral Thrawn taught you anything is you should know your cultures because they will reveal many things to you, not necessarily to, because that's where the lesson ends. Don't do anything else Thrawn did. So moving forward, more video.
今イリーガルアーミーは 私の流した偽の情報でステファン研究所に向かってるはず。ナイトセイバーズ出動。
I remember doing mute this time. I showed that clip because it is right here in front of us. Bubblegum Crisis, specifically Bubblegum Crash, the OVA. If you want to link to it, I know on YouTube where you can watch the whole thing. And did that music not fucking slap? I found one place on the internet where I can get that song, but it has audio over it, so you can't just enjoy the absolute shredding happening at the end of that scene. So I had to keep it in. But not only am I referencing Bubblegum Crash / Crisis, or the Bubblegum universe, which definitely has DNA with Cyberpunk, the video game and the role-playing game, because of Mr. Pondsmith, who is a connective tissue through all of that. We will go over the video from the very top in the next slide because it's from Japanese creators. It's great. So first slide is inspired by, as is the title suggests. These aren't necessarily developed, produced, or built by Asian creators, or definitely not from Asian companies, but this is where the start is. You know, big nerds who aren't from there but find the cultures fascinating, building their own things, and in some cases with cultural advisors. So kudos there. L5R, Legend of the Five Rings, 1995. Gotta start with the OGs, gotta start with the hits. There's board games, there's card games, there's the role-playing games. It was even the setting, the intellectual property of the setting of L5R was actually the Asian equivalent setting for D&D 3rd edition. So it's an OG. Lots of people loved it. Good times. Moving across and through, Feng Shui. I've actually played that one. It's entertaining. It uses a D6 system. Very, very punchy, actiony. Pretty wild. Big Eye Small Mouth, another OG, another classic, originally built for use with Dungeons and Dragons, but then came up with its own tri-stat system, which is why it says tri-stats D20. But also it has a 4th edition that just came out recently. 2nd edition was massively expanded, and they have ultimate fan guides, which are basically if you want to role play in a specific anime universe like Sailor Moon or Dragon Slayers, they had a splat book for it. OG Grognard term splat book. You're welcome. Bubblegum Crisis covered. Exalted seems to have hold a similar place in the pantheon as Legend 5Rs of being a somewhat more older game, but this one is definitely your sort of like Berserk / Dragon Ball Z / Crouching Tiger or Hidden Tiger, Crouching Dragon. I don't remember the exact title. But that one is definitely more epic scale for your heroes. And there was even a point where they were shooting digs at Dungeons and Dragons by, I think they went to a college or something, and were like, if you give us your player's handbook, we will trade you an Exalted handbook as part of a graduate your game promotion, which I think is some petty, excellent BS. Oh, hold on. I'm getting I'm getting bleed through on the audio from Zelda, so let me click that out real quick. All right. So, and then of course, Pathfinder. Original Pathfinder had like the Jade Coast, which I believe was their Asia equivalent setting, which I didn't hear much about positive or negative, but more recently in second edition Impossible Lands, lots of cultural advising, lots of hard work was put into it to make it representative and evocative without and making sure that nothing was particularly problematic. So has been hailed, good job, as a great setting supplement for people who want that kind of flavor in their fantasy setting. And then of course, shout out to Shadowrun, GURPS, and OG D&D for always having an option, if not several options, if not problematic, but typically getting better every day. Now, for the stuff from the place, there it is. Record of Lodos War. It's another OG anime I gotta watch. This one I love because it was Japanese nerds who saw D&D and wanted to play that. So they did. So they had their own setting. And this is one of the original live plays, or rather actual plays, which they called a replay. That's why the quotation marks there. And then, of course, because of licensing and they didn't have connection with Wizards at the time or whatever, they came out with their own system and setting. That is the Record of Lodos War role-playing game, animes, OVAs, movies, visual novels, manga, the whole thing, which then, of course, got ported into the US little by little because nerds. We love a cyclical feedback loop of positive creation. And so that's pretty cool. Made, shout out to Made. I heard about this through Penny Arcade back in the late 2000s because of course I did. I've never gotten it to the table, but got close once or twice. And it's super simple and quick and light. Uses D6 system. And then it gets as goofy, weird, like it, because it's a single, it's about as thick as the player's handbook for D&D, and that's the whole game, with references and art and stuff. You can build it out to be more dense if you want, or more intense. And it's silly, it's one of those things where it starts the reverse of how most Dungeons and Dragons games start, where most Dungeons and Dragons games, they start as the Fellowship of the Rings and then turn into Monty Python. This one starts with, what if Monty Python tee-hee? And you can make it more serious from there. Confluence isn't out yet, but they have a big old Kickstarter that went off without a hitch. As it says, looks like they're near the end of the dev cycle, and I believe they should be doing printings or shippings early next year. Looking forward to seeing reviews on that properly, but huge, diverse, many different contributors from all over the world, not just, but dominantly East Asian influenced and driven as far as the setting. So looking forward to seeing that. Ryutama is one of a few different role-playing games that this particular artist has put out from Japan. This one was translated. It is a cozy core kawaii RPG. You play as NPCs effectively in a small village setting, what have you. And the design was specific. It was like, well, how do you role play cozy characters and still have it be meaningful? And they're like, bet, we did it. And so that's why you may start out with these pastel tones, but you actually get into some serious themes potentially if you run that game. Real quick, some shout outs here in the middle. Shinobigami, Modern Ninja Battle, Tenra Bancho, Hyper Anime Action, and Tadana, Pinoy PG, cards, Filipino-based mythology and monsters, and it uses a card system for the randomness instead of dice. Super cool. And then, of course, Momoto's is another just large designer mover in the space. Their website is incredible. And then rpgc.com is a repository of like smaller, like 1-page, 5-page indie role-playing stuff, all APAC designers. Really cool there. And now,
Remind me why we're friends again?
Attention, duelists! My hair is telling me that it's time for you to board.
we played some pretend. Now it's time to move some cardboard. So here is just a short list of games. All of them are Japan, but of games that are inspired by, but not necessarily from, developers or houses in Japan or Asia. Suro's amazing. Tokaido's amazing. Naishi, not sure, looks amazing. Staku, dumb and simple. If you have players that just love to stack dice, it's a board game for them. Enjoy. Like, it's great. Kabuto Sumo is you've got huge bugs made of huge bug-shaped discs of wood that you put on a platform and then gently try to shove each other off. There's expansions. It's ridiculous. Takenoko, I've heard described as Settlers of Panda, where you try to grow bamboo and this asshole panda keeps eating it and you can't do anything about the panda because it's the emperor's. And if you do anything about the panda, then they do something about you. Samurai Sword is a fun, different take on the Bang board game engine. Samurai is Zone Control, if I remember correctly. And then my friend who is a huge board game nerd. You think I like games? He has literal walls of board games in his place. When I asked him what's one like Asia themed or Asian, he was like, this one, and pointed at River of Gold immediately without a heartbeat. So that one, and sneaky peeky little Legend of the Five Rings setting. So that's what's going on there. I have a bonus list at the end with more of these that I discovered or found out about. No, and I have 2 more I need to add to this list that even more recently, just in the few days, about the week since I finished this slide deck and today. Oh, what am I doing? Hold on. All right, we're all still here. Okay, great. And now for real, either Asian creator, Asian developer, Asian distributor. Some of you may recognize some classics. Machikoro, Shadow Hunters, Shikoku 1889 is a more recent 18X game by the same designer, Yasuta Ikeda, who also did Fangs and Seventh Night, which are all fairly different board games. Dude's great for solid execution while also doing diversity. Machikoro is very popular for creating a little town tableau and doing points, and it's adorable. Oink Games, as you can see there, huge range, huge output, tiny little boxes, super well traveled, and moderately affordable. You get a little bit of hit on the like import export, but for that much game, you're not going to pay $60. You're still in like, oh, I could spend a few extra bucks on cash on that, get a few plays out of it. Totally worth it. And many of them are incredible. They typically range from incredible to all right, with only a few like duds across a huge collection. Shout out to Fake Artist, shout out to Scout, shout out to Deep Sea Adventures as standout titles. Seiji Kanai, which I think is how it's pronounced. If anyone finds out how it's pronounced, let me know. He's also a big developer. He came up with Love Letter and My Star, which is lesser known, but still lovely, as well as 82 other games, at least those that were linked on Board Game Geek. So prolific, bro. Iki is a newer game that came out where you're dudes on little boats in a town trading dyes and silks, and very, very tasty. I want a Euro game, but I want it to be super aesthetic. Iki's the way to go. And then there's Masayuki Kudo, who is the Tanto Kure guy, but also he has several other games that have a similar aesthetic. Let me just put it that way. So if you want a little snack with on your art with your board games, you could do worse than Masayuki. And then, of course, hiding down at the bottom, we've got Joraku, which has Daimyos. We love a titular line. Titular line. Blah, blah, blah. The Tanto Kure Freudian slipped me. There's also Yokai Septet, which is Pokemon for vibes. Songbirds, which the Japanese title literally translates to birdie fight. Nice. Shout out to String Railway. Yes, railways made of string. I can't imagine how expensive that box could be. And then special shout out to Hako Ona. It's on its 4th printing. The concept is you are the box, and it's got the super creepy, like, horror film, girl who hasn't slept in 5 days with hand coming towards you on the box. Great vibes for the spooky season. And then, of course, why not both roleplay and tabletop, especially with Battletech, MechWarrior Destiny / Alpha Strike, inspired by Macros and other mech animes, originally published in 1984. So an OG, 86 for Alpha Strike. The combining both allows you to have a more diverse gameplay experience as far as seated at table and standing at table, because typically while you're sitting, you're doing the role play aspect, you're doing the mini game of managing what's going on in your ship, and the interclan intersphere diplomatic situations. But then you go to ground and you pull out the terrain and you put your little stompy boys and make them go kiss. And that's when you're standing. And those rules help translate between those two. If you want an actual play, shout out right there, Black Remnant. They're currently doing a arena arc where it's exhibition games, and it's buck wild. It's great. Shout out to Lancer. Lancer is a much newer robot role-playing game. Let me see if I got... Where's my note? I have a quote from noted tabletop game developer and writer Sub Mortimer. Lancer, fully automated luxury gay space communism with robots, is the quote for that one. And definitely proud of its roots, that it's not dystopian like many other mech games or settings, but it is a scarcity post-explosion sort of thing. So you're at these fringes of the universe trying to make do because there's nothing out there, not necessarily because everyone messed everything up. And then, of course, I wanted to shout out to the Gundam card game, which just came out this year, which is getting glowing reviews as a pretty solid card game all on its own, combined with the fact that it's Gundam. Fantastic. I had, let's see here. And then, that's bonus round. Actually, of course, I almost forgot. Hiding down here at the bottom, of course, shout out to Pokemon, Digimon, etc., Yu-Gi-Oh!, Weiss Schwartz, which is a card game that uses multiple IPs as the cards and sets, which interact with each other, and like a bunch of different shows, animes have had sets made for that. But also shout out to, in no particular order, and I don't know where they're from, Let's Go to Japan, Daitoshi, Tokaido Duel, Hanabi. That one is a fairly famous, like I'm Smart board game about fireworks and has a very Japan aesthetic, but is not distributed or was not developed by a Japanese person. Kyoto no Neko. So Kyoto and cats, always a good time. King of Tokyo, shout out because it's big stompy monsters, obviously and also the Tokyo reference, but definitely not by a Japanese developer. Nekojima, Ramen Fury, Sushi Go. Shout out to Magic the Gathering with Arabian Nights and Kamigawa, and even more recently, the Avatar and Final Fantasy sets. And then one last one, Obojima, I think, are other ones that I wanted to make sure I mentioned for posterity.